today's lesson is going to be Module 1, Lesson 3. The objective is to be able to interpret the meaning of factors, the size of the group, or the number of groups. The materials you need for today are your whiteboard, dry erase marker, and dry eraser. The first vocabulary term that we're going to talk about today is factor. Factor are numbers multiplied together to get another number. So if you look here, 2 times 3, or as we like to say it, 2 groups of, remember we say groups of 3 equals 6. 2 and 3 are both factors because they are the numbers that we're multiplying together to get another number, which is our product. The next vocabulary term is number bond. Number bond is a visual showing a sum of numbers added together. So you can see our number bond picture here. It shows a group of 3 and a group of 3, and then they both go together to this bigger number, 6. So there's a few different ways to show this. The first way is over here, 3 plus 3 equals 6. Well, we know that the sum of both of these parts, so this 3 plus this 3 equals the total or the sum, which is 6. Another way of saying that is 2 groups of 3 equals 6. Well, there's one group of 3 here and another group of 3 here, so altogether there's 2 groups of 3, and when you put them together, that equals 6. Another way of saying it, the multiplication way, is 2 times 3 equals 6, or how we like to say it, 2 groups of 3 equals 6. And you can see there's 2 groups of 3, and they come together to equal 6. Let's talk about the meaning of factors. So first, we have this equation. 4 times 6, or 4 groups of 6, equals 24, okay? I'm going to use this multiplication equation on the board here to draw an array, okay? So you can write along with me on your whiteboards if you'd like, but make sure that you're watching as I'm doing it, okay? So I am going to draw this array. I know I have 4 groups or 4 rows. So I'm going to make the beginning of each of my rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have 4 groups of 6. So I know that each of those rows has to have 6 in it. So now I'm going to go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the next row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And notice how I'm trying to make them line up as straight as I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the fourth row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have an array with 4 rows of 6. Now remember, rows go side to side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to make the same thing, the same multiplication equation, except I am going to make it into a number bond, okay? So this circle that's on the screen now is going to be my total, or my product, which is 24, okay? 4 rows of 6 equals 24. Now I need to make those 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Because this is 4 groups of 6. Now, inside each of those circles is going to be a 6 because I have 4 groups of 6. So each group has to have a 6. And when they come together, it equals 24. And that is how we draw a number bond for a multiplication sentence. Okay. Let's talk about the analysis of our equation. We said that that first number was 4, which is the number of groups. Then we multiply that by the size of the group. So in each of our number bond pieces, the size was 6. And that gives us a total of 24, or a product of 24, okay? 4 groups of 6 equals 24. So the first number is always the number of groups or the number of rows. The second number is always the size of the group, okay? Or how many dots are in the row if you're looking at an array. Or if you're looking at a number bond, that's going to be the number that's inside the number bond pieces, okay? That's the size of the group. And that equals our total or our product, okay? So this will stay the same for every multiplication equation. The number of groups times the size of the group. And that is why we say that the x isn't times, it's groups of. Okay, now is where I'm going to want you to do the work for me. And this time I'm going to have you show me your whiteboards, okay? So this array that I want you to make is 2 groups of 8. Remember, our x is groups of. So on your whiteboard, I want you to make 2 groups of 8. So 2, remember, is the number of rows, and 8 is the size. So 2 is the number of rows, because the first number is always the number of rows or the number of groups, and the 8 is going to be the size of each group. So the 8 will be how many dots are in each row. Go ahead and make that array. Make sure once you have your finished array, you hold it up to the camera. Awesome, great work. So what I saw happening, okay, and well, let's go ahead and draw our array first, and then I'll tell you what I saw. We need 2 rows, which means we want to start making our rows first, so we're going to go down 1, 2, okay? Our rows go side to side, so in each row I need 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice once again, I tried to make it as straight as possible so it looks very organized into rows and columns. Now, here's what I saw some people do. I saw some people start with making 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they made 2 of them like this. Now, what you might notice is they look kind of the same, except this one is tipped on its side, okay? So if you had that drawing on your whiteboard, all you have to do is turn your whiteboard so that the rows are long across and you have the same drawing, okay? So if you accidentally did it this way in yellow, you just have to tip your whiteboard to the side and then it'll look like this way here, okay? So you don't have to erase it and start over again. All right, so we have 2 rows of 8, which means each row has 8, and there's 2 of them, okay? Now we have to solve it. So we're going to skip count, okay, by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, okay? So we know 2 times 8 is, or 2 groups of 8 is 16. The other way we could do that is skip counting our rows of 8, which we don't really know how to skip count by 8, but we could use the trick that we did the other day, which is counting all of the dots or the circles and then writing the number at the end of the row. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'll write 8. And then I'm going to keep counting. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So even if I count one at a time and label the end of my rows, I still get to 16. So 2 groups of 8 equals 16. Okay, now we have to do the same equation, but we have to make a number bond instead. Now we had just figured out that 2 groups of 8 equals 16, so let's go ahead and fill that in. Now we know that since that's our product, or our answer, that is what's going to go in the big circle in the middle. Now we have 2 groups, because remember this is groups of, so we have 2 groups, so we just need to make 1, 2 pieces coming off of our number bond. Now we know that the size of the group is 8. The first number is always the number of groups, and the second number is always the size of the group. So we know the size of each piece of the number bond is 8. So in this piece, I'm going to draw 8. And in this piece, I'm going to draw 8. Okay. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you just a moment to put the equation that we were just working on your whiteboard. Okay, and I want you to put it in the correct order. So first is the number of groups, next is the size of the group, and last is the total. Go ahead and write that equation on your whiteboard and hold it up. I am loving those equations. We had 2 groups or 2 rows, and in each one there were 8, and that gave us a total of 16. Now, some of you might have written 8 times 2 equals 16. Now 8 times 2 does equal 16, but this is not right because the first number is always the number of groups, and we did not have 8 groups on our number bond. We did not have 8 rows in our array. We only had 2. So the number of groups or the number of rows always has to come first, or else it is not the equation that matches our picture, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the homework. The homework is going to be doing similar to what we have been doing, okay? Counting the number of groups and the size of each group, okay? So number of groups is how many of these groups are there. And remember, the size of each group is how many items are inside that group. And then it changes it to a multiplication equation and wants you to skip count the groups to figure out how many pineapples there are total. Okay, and put the product there, and then it changes it into a sentence. There are blank pineapples all together. So that same product you're going to write again down there. Okay, this homework is going to be a Cami assignment. So go ahead and you're going to get started on that now. If you have any questions, remember to stay in the Google Meet and ask them. If you're ready to begin working, you can close out of the Google Meet or mute your tab while you work. Okay, you're going to complete the whole page for the homework.